Hi, everybody. This is WWE superstar Jerry the King Lawler, and this is the Kings Podcast on theDugoutSportsShow.com.
Welcome to a new edition of the Kings Podcast, heard only on DugoutSportsShow.com. I'm Glenn Moore, and I'm joined by Jerry the King Lawler, WWE superstar, commentator for Raw on the USA Network. Jerry, how are you doing today?
Doing great, doing really well. As you said, this is a new edition, our second edition actually, and I'm doing well because I just finished watching earlier today the Indians get a victory over the Diamondbacks, and now I'm just watching the end of the Detroit Tigers take a good butt kicking from the New York Mets. So it makes a good day. I think that moves the Indians back into a tie for first place.
Yeah, that's two in a row. The Tigers, they got their butt whooped yesterday too.
Well, I just heard the guy say that the New York Mets have scored 50 runs in their last 4 games.
Wow.
So they are on fire.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll get into baseball a little later, but I always tweet out, what do you want to ask Booby Gibson or Chris Perez? And, of course, with our podcast with you now, what do you want to ask Jerry the King Lawler? And the one thing that popped up from yesterday and today is about CM Punk's promo at the end of Raw on Monday night. And you were there. What was your take on it? And when it was happening, what was just your reaction about the things he was saying?
Well, to be quite honest with you, it was pretty surprising, pretty shocking, actually, to hear someone, make the statements that CM Punk made, especially when it got so personal when he was talking about, not only talking about Vince McMahon, but talking about Vince's family and his company, and so it got pretty heavy. Actually, I think I looked over at Michael Cole, and his eyes looked like two saucers, and he just looked back at me like, I mean, is this really happening? Should we say something? Should we try to butt in and stop him or something like that? And so we just wound up listening like everybody else, and then finally they finally cut his microphone off. So it was heavy. It really was. I mean, he's mentioning. I mean, he's saying things that I really can't ever remember. And I've been doing Raw for 18, 19 years now, and I can't ever remember someone taking that much leeway and someone getting to go that far without. Well, I don't ever remember anybody getting cut off before. I don't think, but he got to go a long way before he got cut off. If I'd been Vince McMahon, of course he's not the guy that has his finger on the 7-second censor delay button. But if that had been my responsibility, I'd have cut him off a lot sooner.
Yeah. Well, it almost brought back memories of the old Attitude Era, where anything went with guys coming out and cutting promos, with DX and Stone Cold, and a lot of people on Twitter and Facebook are saying it was good to see that, because it reminded them of the late '90s, where the Attitude Era, where anything went.
Well, I guess that's true, and I can't deny the fact that I was a huge fan of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even changed for me. I'm not even allowed to say the phrase puppies anymore, which during the Attitude Era, that was what Jerry the King Lawler was known for. But so it's changed, but it's a fact of life that it has changed. The programming now is PG, and even though CM Punk didn't say anything that was not PG friendly,
right?
He did go out on a limb and get real personal with the boss. And I mean, of course, back in the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin was known for doing everything he could to tick off the boss. But that was then, and this is now, and it's something like that has not been done. And then this is this is more personal than that was, in the fact that then you knew that Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon were part of, they were part of the programming. Their feud was what Monday nights was about. But this is different. This is not about that. This is CM Punk saying, I'm quitting, and so what are you going to do? You're going to fire me? It don't matter because I'm quitting anyway. So I'm going to say what I feel, and it was it was strong and uncomfortable at times.
And other people are saying, "Oh, this is just a storyline. This is just the word that you use for storylines, an angle where CM Punk is going to stay longer than July 17th. He'll be back. Something's going to happen." But this is legit, though. His contract, it was up, and he possibly might not be back after July 17th for real.
Yeah, no, that's every bit of that was. I think everything that was said Monday night, and the timing of his contract and everything. You're right. It is all legit. And I know Phil or CM Punk. And I think that's the way he truly feels. I think that he is 100% serious about the things he said about Vince, about the things he said about the company. He mentioned other organizations, he mentioned other competitive companies, and I think that's the way he feels. And if I don't know, it's just not. That's not the stuff that storylines or angles are made of.
Right.
That's just him clearing his, getting stuff off his chest.
Yeah, I think the hardcore wrestling fans would know the difference between, an angle and just a storyline and it being real, and maybe the casual fans that maybe just tuned in or heard about it and tuned in, would think, hey, this is just another storyline. He'll be back, but I mean, this is true. But you got to believe that. Some of the things he was saying, though, he has a point. I mean, you see, he is one of the best, wrestlers. Sorry to use that term, wrestling. I know you're using the wrestling term, but one of the good athletes on the roster, and he's not on the front cover of magazines. He's not doing Jimmy Fallon or anything. So he has a good point because he is a good wrestler.
Yeah, but I mean, that you got to understand that in this business. That's not all it takes. You're right. He is excellent. He's an excellent wrestler. He is without a doubt one of the best, as he proved Monday night when it comes to doing promos. But I don't know. I'm not saying that there are any. I'm not trying to be a detractor or anything like that, or saying that there's anything that I can put my finger on that's wrong with CM Punk. But that's Vince McMahon's call. It's his company, and he's going to make the final decision. And everybody that ever steps foot in a WWE ring thinks this in their mind. They think, I'm the best, and if Vince McMahon would give me the exposure, if he would make me the star of the show, this company would be more successful than it's ever been in history. And you have to have that kind of attitude. You have to have that kind of ego. You have to have that kind of self-confidence, or you won't make it in the WWE at all. So, but just because you believe that about yourself, that doesn't mean that Vince McMahon believes that about you. Vince McMahon is going to single some person out, which, I mean, you can only do basically one at a time and say, hey, here's the guy I'm going to give the ball to, and hopefully he's going to run with it. And right now that person's John Cena, and it has been. Before John Cena, it was The Rock, and before The Rock, it was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Before Stone Cold Steve Austin, it was Hulk Hogan. And so Hulk Hogan was... I mean, he couldn't hold a candle to CM Punk's wrestling ability, but he had that total package. He had the charisma, and he had the, he could cut a promo as well as anybody, and so he was as successful as anybody has ever been in this business. Now, CM Punk can go out there and say that he's the best, but obviously Vince McMahon believes otherwise. And the bottom line of it is, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, it's Vince McMahon's company. He owns the company. So he gets to make the final decisions. And contrary to what anybody believes, what Vince said Monday night is true. He certainly wants his company to be as successful as it can possibly be. He wants it to be as good as it can be. He wants the shows to be as good as they can be. He wants as many viewers as possible. He wants as many fans as possible. So in his mind, he is doing what he thinks is going to be the best for the majority of fans. And so, the fact that he doesn't think CM Punk is that guy, that doesn't make, it doesn't make, I don't know. It doesn't make his decision right or wrong. It just means that's his decision, and he's the only guy that gets to make that decision.
Another question for you, and I watched the WCW best of Monday Nitro of WCW, the DVDs. I watched some of the a few of the discs and whatnot. Would you ever have thought that WWE would be promoting the very best of Nitro on their programming? You know, early '90s, the Monday Night Wars. We ever thought that Nitro would be promoted on WWE programming?
Honestly, the first night that promo ran on one of our Raws, Booker T was doing guest commentary with me and Michael Cole, and we were sitting there as that promo for the DVD set came on, and we watched it. And of course, naturally, they picked out the very best moments to show during that commercial, during that DVD. But it was so funny that while we were watching that, Booker looked over at me, and Booker said, "Man, that's better than some of the stuff we're watching now, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah," and we're plugging it, But no, I mean, the reason simply is this: it's a business decision, and the fact that now Vince and the WWE own the license. They own the name, they own all the footage, and so sure, they want to make it look. They want to make it look appealing. They want people to buy the DVD. It doesn't do one thing for WCW. It's not going to bring them back. It's not going to put one penny in their pocket. It all is for the good of the WWE now.
All right, we'll talk about baseball a little bit before I let you go. Interleague play. Are you, Indians are playing Arizona. They play San Francisco. And your friend, Travis Hafner, can't get a lot of playing time because he's not really good at first base, and he's a designated hitter. He only comes in and pitch hit. Are you a fan of Interleague play, or do you like that? Or would you rather save American League versus National League for the World Series?
You know what? I'm sort of middle of the road on the whole thing. What you just said, that last little statement, I haven't really thought along those lines about saving that for the World Series. But when you put it that way, honestly, I'm sort of a purist when it comes to baseball, and I would like to see that. But by the same token, I'm not really against. I enjoy seeing them play different teams, and I just, in my mind, I've always viewed the American League as being stronger than the National League anyway. So it's like, I didn't mind that interleague play. What I am upset about was the fact that the Indians had to play 9 straight games against National League teams where they didn't have a chance to use Travis or the designated hitter thing. I think that's a little unfair. But yeah, I mean, it's. I have mixed feelings on that. I think even though I don't mind watching it, I would, in a perfect world, rather see just the National League go against the American League in the World Series. All
right, final question really quick. I'm the beat reporter for the Cleveland Crush, which is the lingerie football team. Are you a big fan? I have to be a fan of lingerie football.
How could you not be a fan of lingerie football? Oh my gosh, that's like saying, do you like ice cream? No, I mean, it's great. I think it's a fabulous idea, and I would like to watch it or attend as many games as possible. I love it.
Or it's a new team from Cleveland that you can root for. You got Indians. You're a big Browns fan. Now you can be a big Crush fan.
Oh man, yes, I'd love to. I'd love to be a cheerleader for the Crush.
Well, hopefully you can make it out to some of the games. They played 2 home games in Cleveland, 1 in September, 1 in December. So maybe if your arrangements, maybe you could actually make an appearance and be a special MC. You never know.
Yeah, that would be. I'm throwing my name in the hat for that, if you will. Okay.
All right, Jerry. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Talk to you next week.
Very good. Thanks, Ben.